And welcome back to the Super Bowl special. Sam Fetterman here, Power Sports Super Bowl special, the final segment before game picks. It is the NFL awards and season review. We've gone through Super Bowl history. We've talked about how both teams got here. We've done prop bets, keys to the game for each side, and we've talked about the state of the league. Micah Filipkowski has been here through all of it.
What's up, everybody?
Michael obviously did this with me last year, doing it again this year, and we've got one of our probably our biggest billing guest, Fanalize Sports. He's got 95,000 followers on TikTok now.
Something like that. Happy to be here, man.
Yeah, I'm very glad we could get you on for this. And I wanted to give you a segment that we could talk about the league as a whole and not just like the Super Bowl because
not just the bowl.
Because obviously we can analyze the Super Bowl to death, and I think that talking about the league as a whole is a good way to get you involved. All right, so obviously we'll start with the basic awards because this is actually being recorded on Saturday. It will come out on Sunday. So I'll say yesterday/tonight, the NFL honors will release the official awards, but my MVP, no matter who wins, I will consider Aaron Rodgers the MVP. And I have Michael Onwenu, then Justin Jefferson, Justin Herbert for Offensive Rookie of the Year. And then for Defensive Rookie of the Year, Chase Young, then L'Jarius Sneed. And then I don't think you can go wrong with Blackman, Chin, or really even Dantzler or Winfield or Curl, really any of those five. You could
Solid, Sam. I think you're a little off on the Rookie of the Year, Offensive Rookie of the Year, but
how am I possibly off?
I have Justin Herbert.
Michael Onwenu should probably win MVP.
Sam, I'm interested to know, you're a big offensive lineman guy, and so am I. I think it's the most underappreciated position in sports. Yeah. Where do you have Tristan Wirfs? Because he had a great year.
Number 4.
Mekhi Becton, is he 5?
Mekhi Becton would probably be like number 7.
All right.
I'll say this.
Becton is my number 3 rookie O lineman, though, for sure.
Best value is probably Michael Onwenu.
Oh, wait, no, he's my the best value pick in the entire draft is Onwenu for sure. I think Denver and Arizona drafted offensive linemen. The picks before, Cincinnati and Denver. Cincinnati took Akeem Adeniji and Denver took Netane Muti. Those didn't work out. Onwenu was the very next pick. And then Offensive Player of the Year, Derrick Henry, Devontae Adams, Travis Kelce. I got Henry. Defensive Player of the Year, Aaron Donald. I have winning. Then T.J. Watt. Then you could really go for Jair Alexander, Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, any of those 3.
Yeah.
And for Donald, the PFF track stats see him a lot in a lot bigger light than the NFL track stats. PFF has him tracked for 98 pressures, which leads the league by a wide margin. And he also 94.5 PFF grade. I mean,
it's insane. It's
elite pass rusher, elite run stopper. There's nothing Aaron Donald can't do.
Yeah.
If Aaron Donald wanted to play kicker, if Aaron Donald wanted to play quarterback, I'm sure he'd be elite.
I'm sure he'd be pretty decent at both of those. I think I did think that T.J. Watt had a great season.
He did. He did.
He was my deep defensive player of the year for a while. But by the end of the season, you just have to realize that Aaron Donald is so much better than all these guys year after year. But he was so much better than all of them this year too. So I've come around. Aaron Donald was my defensive player of the year. My offensive player of the year, I don't know. I was thinking about it a lot. Travis Kelce definitely.
It could really go any of the 3. The reason why I went Henry is because it's the offensive player of the year. It does not imply value. If it was about value, there is a 0% chance that I'm giving any votes to a running back.
Right.
I mean, I like to make the joke that fullbacks matter more than running backs. But I think Derrick Henry's season, having a workload like that 2 years in a row, is ridiculous. And I'll get into that a little bit later in one of the other maybe not awards, but like just things I want to discuss. Comeback player of the year, Alex Smith, Xavier Howard, Trent Williams.
I think Alex Smith wins it by a mile, though. It's
yeah,
not even
I mean,
close.
but I did a top 3.
Yeah.
The whole season I'm hearing Ben Roethlisberger getting buzz. And I'm not hearing any buzz for Xavier Howard or Trent Williams, who both played at an all-pro level.
Yeah, I mean, that's fair. I will say Big Ben was having a pretty good season the first half of the year, but he definitely started to regress come second half. So.
Big Ben is mentioned a little bit later somewhere on this sheet. Coach of the year, you could really go for either of the two, Stefanski and McDermott. I decided to go for Stefanski because I knew that you'd be here.
Attaboy.
McDermott second. And then really you could go Matt LaFleur. You could go with Brian Flores. But if the Dolphins had made the playoffs, Flores would have won Coach of the Year, in my opinion.
I'd say so, yeah.
I have McDermott just slightly over Stefanski, but I like what Stefanski did this season quite a bit.
I mean, it's fair. They both were very impressive. Where do you have Ron Rivera? Because he would honestly probably be my 3.
He's up there.
Well, as a man who got rid of cancer twice in one season, one being actual cancer and the other being Dwayne Haskins.
Okay,
he
that's
definitely is up there. And Matt Rule as well. Although he's not going to win Coach of the Year, he did have a very good season as a Carolina head coach. They didn't win a lot of games, but they looked a lot better on the field.
And that's another thing like about Joe Judge again with the Giants. They didn't win a lot of games, but they were better towards the end of that season than I thought they would look.
I mean, those are all guys you could look to next year as being solid head coaches and great hires.
Yeah. Most improved player, number 3 is James Bradberry. Number 2 is Garrett Bowles. Number 1 is Josh Allen.
Yeah. I mean,
oh, crap. I forgot somebody. Wyatt Teller.
Wyatt Teller.
How is Wyatt Teller not like the first name that comes to mind? All right, put Teller at 2. But Josh Allen this season, completely different quarterback. He was a
quarterback is what the word is.
He was a quarterback. And then this year, he's suddenly slinging the ball all over the field. That's what Stephon Diggs is able to do. The Bills had a decent receiving core. They just didn't have a number 1. And that's the thing. Like the Ravens, if you get like a true number 1 for Lamar, I think the rest of that receiving core is good for like as number 2s and 3s.
I mean, Cole Beasley was a great acquisition as well.
They brought him in not this season, but last season from Dallas, and he's been phenomenal. He led the league by a wide margin in slot yards per route run.
Mm-hmm. And with the broken, what was it, fibula or tibula?
These slot guys play with a broken everything. And then most disappointing player, you got Carson Wentz, literally unanimous. Like 100%. In my brain, unanimous.
Yeah,
I think it's
maybe a second place. I'd say.
Jimmy G.
Who's second place?
Ezekiel Elliott.
I'd say he's up there, but Zach Ertz is also another.
Zach Ertz. True. Jimmy G.
G was fighting injuries and his entire team was injured, and Jimmy G himself is kind of the definition of game manager.
He is the definition of game manager. Yeah, he really is.
Executive of the year, Brandon Beane.
Is that Bucks exec?
No, that's the Bills.
That's the Bills. Okay.
What he did just over the last 3 years to surround Josh Allen with a team that he had. Remember, going into the season, the Bills' strength was their defense. And their defense was disappointing this year, but they still have a great secondary. A lot of great players there. Game changers. And I mean, Matt Milano has stepped up into a role. That entire defense is solid. And then the offense this year was while the line lacks like the big name talent, and they bring in Diggs, they draft Gabe Davis late, they get guys like Beasley and John Brown and surround Josh Allen with the pieces he needs, and Josh Allen blossoms into a quarterback that I didn't think he could be.
Mm-hmm.
All right, for most surprising team, there's a couple. You could say Miami and Washington.
Okay.
Miami.
I would probably go Miami.
But the reason why I'd say Miami, even though like a bunch of people had them like 7-9, 8-8, they didn't have them 7-9, 8-8 because of an elite defense.
They had him because Tua was slinging the rock, and it was the
and Tua is probably up in the conversation of most disappointing player.
Yeah,
in a way.
Fitz is probably up there in the position of clutchest player of the year.
Ryan Fitzpatrick is the. By the way, Nick Foles is basically Ryan Fitzpatrick, and Gardner Minshew is the next version of that.
This is true.
And then we look at the most disappointing teams for me: the Eagles, Houston, and the Cowboys.
I'd throw Vikings up there somewhere probably.
Yeah, I say that too, but I was higher on the Vikings than most people. I had them winning 10 games.
I had them winning like 10 or
but 11. Danielle Hunter was out.
Mike Zimmer forgot
Yannick Ngakoue was bad.
And then Mike Zimmer couldn't coach a defense, and you had Gary Kubiak calling play action on 4th and 1. So, you know what? I'm going to take a pass this year on the Vikings because when you can't block for Kirk Cousins, I mean, I don't know how you're going to win football games.
And it's just you can't keep they've literally just wasted Kirk Cousins, a year of Kirk Cousins, a year of a very
good Kirk Cousins. He was 8.
Yeah, a good Kirk Cousins. They've wasted when you have a quarterback that is playing at a high level, you can't waste that. And the
8th greatest
this year
quarterback.
This year you look at teams like the Texans, they did that. You look at a whole bunch of teams that just wasted a year of good quarterback play in Houston especially, and also Minnesota.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm going to keep saying Houston.
But Minnesota's like the Houston that just doesn't get enough attention.
And then for game of the year, number 3, Bills Cardinals.
Yeah, that was a classic.
Number 2, the NFC Championship game between the Bucs and the Packers.
Okay, I can see that.
That's a great game.
And number 1 is Monday Night Football, Browns, Ravens.
Is that the poop game?
Yes.
We're dubbing it the poop game.
Yes. That game was incredible. Electric. It had everything.
Except for defense.
And Baker Mayfield was fantastic. Lamar was fantastic.
Landry, Chubb, Kareem Hunt, Dobbins.
Justin Tucker, who is the best kicker in the NFL.
In NFL history. I'm ready to say it.
No. Vinatieri is still the best kicker in NFL history.
I don't know, man.
I could say go either way.
Tucker's he's so good.
He's so good though. Play of the year, number 3, Scotty Miller's Hail Mary.
Not the one on the NFC Championship game, though, right? One from earlier in the season.
Yes, it is.
Oh, man, I just don't like that.
Just because it was a blown defensive play call doesn't mean it wasn't like.
Yeah, but you could say the same thing about Henry Ruggs' game.
No, but this is the NFC Championship game.
Okay, but that was to win the game. This was just to end the half.
It's the NFC Championship game.
You understand the point I'm making.
Neither the Raiders
neither should be a game of the year play. I'm sorry.
And number 2 for play of the year.
Groundbreaking in that game. It was a huge play.
Yeah.
But I feel like there are so many other plays. Ronald Jones' 99-yard touchdown. Easily
top. It wasn't as impactful.
They were
it was a 99-yard touchdown though.
It would have been a score game. That could have been the game right there. So it was just clutch.
I don't know.
Number 2, Lamar Jackson to Hollywood Brown on 4th down in the poop game.
It was electric.
It's coming out of the
bathroom.
Like Paul Pierce.
He's got the post-poop cramps and just throws a dime on 4th down.
And gets out of the pocket, makes a play. Hollywood Brown finished this season strong.
Yeah, he did.
And then number 1, the Hail Mary.
It has to be.
I don't think anyone's surprised.
There's no one play that was more memorable than that.
Patriots moment of the year. Number 3, Gunner's redemption, the punt return touchdown against the Chargers.
Yeah, there aren't that many this year.
Number 2, we love you 2-8, the Devin McCourty pick 6 against the Seahawks at the beginning of that game, and then paying homage to James White, whose father passed in a car crash earlier that day. And then number 1, Jakobi Meyers.
All of Jakobi.
To Rex Burkhead. Well, yeah, all of Jakobi Meyers.
All of Jakobi Myers. The whole
just the existence of Jakobi Meyers.
Just the existence of a receiver who can catch the ball. At N'Keal Harry.
No, that guy sucks. Choke of the year. Number 3, Falcons in week 2.
Falcons in week 3. Falcons.
Number 2, Russell Wilson's MVP campaign.
I like that.
Ooh, that's tough. I love Russell Wilson. But
I love him
He
too,
was
but-
my preseason MVP pick.
Hold on. Through week 8, it was Russell Wilson's MVP, no question about it. After week 8, it was it's kind of not so good.
Yeah.
And it's been 2 years in a row of this. And I wrote about that in my quarterback guide that is going to be published at some point.
Haters Guide to Quarterbacks 2021.
Basically. And then the number 1 choke of the year is just the Steelers in general.
Yeah.
That's true.
They were 11-0. And
Not even
I
the
tell you
Browns
this.
game.
I tell you this. If they had they needed a bye week.
Corvette like that. I'm gonna
Okay.
like that.
Okay.
Sorry, I had to do it. Sam.
Meme moment of the year. Number 3. The Mitch Trubisky's MVP.
Yeah,
Oh, yeah.
I voted for him. I voted for MVP for Mitch
Number
Trubisky.
2, when
Lamar.
Juju got rocked. And number 1, Trace McSorley's entire existence.
This is
I
true.
was thinking you would put Lamar Jackson's game in there.
Can we get an honorable mention for all of Nickelodeon game? Just the whole game.
Just the entire game.
The whole
Yeah.
game. We had Lex
And also-
Lumpkin
oh,
mispronouncing Mitch Trubisky.
I
We
really,
had-
I really
We
should
had
put
a
in.
girl in the booth who has never been to a football game in her life.
Yeah.
And we had
Mick Trubisky. And
Oh
I'd
my
also
God.
like to give an honorable mention to We Do Not Care.
Yeah.
All right, now the Ante Award. Actually, no, wait. Best offseason acquisition. Number 3, James Bradbury. Number 2, Trent Williams. Number 1, Tom Brady.
It has
Oh.
to be Brady. Brady
You would
is
say Diggs.
Oh,
Diggs.
forgot about
Okay,
Diggs.
Diggs is
I forgot
probably
about
2.
Diggs and Hopkins. Crap.
Diggs
Oh,
is 2. I'd
Diggs
say.
at 3. Diggs at 3.
where
Trent
does
at 2.
where does David Johnson rank there?
Probably like 1,000, 1,001.
I'd say David Johnson probably ranks somewhere below Mohamed Sanu.
Above or below Todd Gurley?
Oh, that's a really tough one.
Definitely
Probably a
below.
little below.
It's got to
Those
be
guys
below.
both sucked.
Insert
Um,
backup quarterback.
And then the biggest fantasy bust, we're going with Kenyon Drake.
That dude sucks.
I mean,
All right, now
are we including like injury? Because
No,
not
Michael
including
Thomas
injury. No.
Smith. And,
I mean Saquon would be
McCaffrey. There's so many guys who got injured. It's not fair.
all right. Now the Ante Awards. The winner of the Ante MVP was actually Michael Mursky's MVP pick, and a bunch of other people had this. Drew Lock.
Yeah, Drew Lock was my dark horse for MVP. Yeah, he sucked.
Drew Lock's just not good. The
His footwork is just non-existent.
The anti-offensive rookie of the year at number 3, Jake Luton. At number 2, Ben DiNucci. And at number 1, Lloyd Cushenberry.
oh yeah,
Ben DiNucci.
I had really high hopes for him. He was awful this year.
Yeah, he was just really, really bad. The anti-defensive rookie of the year, Jeff Okuda.
Yep, 100%.
He really was a disappointment through and through.
The anti-offensive player of the year, number 4, Frank Gore.
How
Dude
can
had the
you-
same amount of carries as Alvin Kamara.
Did he really?
Yes. Number 3, AJ Green. Number 2, N'Keal Harry. And number 1, Drew Samia.
Who's Drew Samia?
He's an offensive lineman for the Vikings, and he had
Did
like
he even play?
he had like 12 pressures allowed in like 100 snaps.
That's why Kirk Cousins was running for his life all season, folks.
The anti-defensive player of the year goes to Michael Jacquet. Now,
Can we give it an honorary to Carson Wentz as well?
now I'd like to read you Michael Jacquet's stats because they are appalling. Michael Jacquet had, and this is true. Let me find it. Hold on. Where can I find it? Get just corner. All right. He had 22 targets, 16 catches on those targets. He gave up 3.59 yards per coverage snap. Here, for some context, the second highest yards per coverage snap by a corner was 2.18.
I'd like to throw in a number 2 or maybe even number 1.
Andrew Sendejo.
Oh, 100%. 100%.
He was bad, but Michael Jacquet is on another level.
By the way, another Vikings player on that horrendous Vikings defense. Oh, wait. Oh, no. Never mind. So he was on the Vikings. He's on the Browns now. Okay.
Yeah.
My bad.
Anti-coach of the year. Anti-coach of the year. Number 3, Anthony Lynn. Number 2, Matt Patricia. And number 1, the man who should have been extended, Adam Gase. Yeah, and then 100%. Anti-executive of the year is Bill O'Brien.
100%. Bill O'Brien might be the worst football anything of the history of the NFL.
Over Adam Gase?
Executive of the year.
Okay, here's my thinking. He gave up 2 first-round picks for Laramie Tunsil and paid him $60 million a year. Now, Laramie Tunsil's a very good player.
And the thing is,
but an
offensive line consists of 5 people.
Exactly.
The other 4 guys on that line are basically like Titus Howard, Max Sharping. I don't even know if I can name the other 2.
Yeah. And then, obviously, trading DeAndre Hopkins for
David Johnson.
David Johnson.
No. Trading anything for David Johnson. Like, even prime David Johnson.
Imagine trading for David Johnson in 2020. Wouldn't it be?
Houston got more first-round picks for Robert Covington than they did for DeAndre Hopkins. All right, top 5 guys I was right on. Drew Lock, I knew he'd suck. Justin Simmons, I had him as my number 3 safety coming into the season, and he proved me right. A lot of people had him outside their top 5. Number 3 guy I was right on, J.C. Jackson. I called him coming into the season most underrated player in the NFL. He's now pretty much consensus a top 10 cornerback.
Yep.
And then Quinnen Williams. I said he'd make All-Pro. He didn't quite, but he was fantastic.
He was a good player.
And number 5 guy was right on, Ben Roethlisberger. I was saying it all year when he was putting up some decent-looking stats that he was just literally a glorified game manager, and those numbers the numbers were very deceiving. And he proved me so right those last couple of games.
Thank you, Browns. Thank you.
And then guys I was wrong on. Jamal Adams, he was my defensive player of the year.
Ooh.
Cam Newton.
Well, hold on. Can we just give a stat on Jamal Adams? A man who got half of his hand blown off in a fire incident had more interceptions this season than Jamal Adams did. I mean, how is that possible?
It's sad. It's sad.
It's incredible.
The second guy I was wrong on, Cam Newton. I think at one point in the season we were all on the Cam Newton train.
After the Seahawks game, we were all on the Cam Newton train.
He looked good earlier in the year. I mean,
but then we realized, oh wait, the Seahawks defense can't cover throws.
Yeah.
And then they learned how.
The
next guy I was wrong on, N'Keal Harry. I hyped this guy up all off season. The number 4 guy I was wrong on, Shaq Barrett. I thought he was a fluke. I have no idea why. The number 5 guy I was wrong on, Travis Fulgham. I jumped the gun on him way too early.
Never jumped the gun on Eagles.
The next guy I was wrong on, OBJ. I thought he would have a resurgent season, come back to being one of those top receivers in the league.
Yeah, that was
he had a good game, but Baker looked better without OBJ.
I have to
100%, yeah.
The next guy I was wrong on is Carson Wentz. I was a huge Wentz is better than Dak guy.
Nope.
Next guy I was wrong on, Noah Fant. I thought he would be a 1,000-yard guy. Well, maybe not 1,000 yards, but I thought he would be like the 3rd best tight end this season behind Kittle and Kelsey. And then the next guy, Danielle Hunter. I can't really say anything, but I thought he would be like really good, and then he just didn't play. And then this one, I thought Derrick Henry was going to get hurt. I could have sworn he was going to get hurt. Derrick Henry coming into this season had 300. How many touches did he have last year? And it's generally, yeah. But I'm just looking at Derrick Henry right now, and I'm seeing a guy that if he's able to shoulder a load and have like another 5 yards per carry with 300 carries, and like if he wins another rushing title, he's going to the Hall of Fame.
Mm-hmm.
And
yeah, I'll just say one guy I was right on. I only have one. Our Super Bowl quarterback, former New England Patriots quarterback, Tom Brady. I called it Super Bowl. And hopefully, with luck, they will win, and I can be really right. And that's the only pick that I'm going to say. Because
now I want to talk about some storylines of the season. Just some things that because this is where I want to get you to talk a little bit more and give like some opinions, and because I think this is really fascinating. So the 49ers this season dealt with a lot of injuries, and I still think that if they're fully healthy next season, they probably should win the NFC West. If they trade for Deshaun Watson, they will be my Super Bowl pick.
I can agree with that 100%. In that offense, that's really dangerous. I mean, Kyle Shanahan is a phenomenal coach. They got good yards after catch guys like Ayuk and Samuel. And that defense.
Learned that the hard way.
Bosa's coming back. You got Fred Warner, arguably the best linebacker in the league. It'll be interesting to see what they do with Richard Sherman because he's probably going to leave. I would like for my Browns to get him. That wouldn't be a bad idea.
That would be crazy. Richard Sherman is also very much not washed up. We need to realize that he's very much not washed up. I right now have him at number 4.
I mean, he's not what he used to be, but you have him at 4?
Here's why. Richard Sherman over the last 3 years has a target rate of 8.08%. On only if he had 100 coverage snaps, he'd be targeted on 8 of them over the last 3 years. Some context. Tre'Davious White, 11.2. J.C. Jackson, 14.5. Xavier Howard, 14.1. James Bradbury, 13.8. Jair Alexander, 14.67. Marlon Humphrey, 15.5. Jalen Ramsey, 13.1. Stephon Gilmore, 13.5. You can't when you look at a guy that just he owns the side of the field.
I mean, I wouldn't have him as high as 4, and I wouldn't say that he's what he used to be necessarily.
He's not. He's absolutely not what he used to be.
Yeah, he's lost a little bit of a step, but definitely still top 10, I would say, is fair. Yeah, I'd say top 10.
I think that if the 49ers will be fine if he leaves, though, because, they were without him for most of this season. And their defense, Jason Verrett stepped up and had a huge season for them.
He is so underrated.
49ers defense is remarkable.
The problem with the 49ers this year was they had, Kittle got hurt, Mostert got hurt, everyone got hurt, and then yet the guys that were able to stay healthy included Trent Williams, Jason Verrett, and Jerick McKinnon. How? Those guys are literally the most injury-prone guys.
No, Jerick McKinnon might be the most injury-prone player of all time. Swear to God.
Verrett has missed basically 3 years in a row. So.
Yeah, and Nick Bosa getting him back is huge.
Here's the 2 things I'll say about the Niners.
Kinlaw is going to take a step up next year.
He's incredible. Here's what I have to say about the Niners next year. As long as Jimmy G can, I feel like they need a better quarterback. I don't think Jimmy G's.
I think that
if they can get a quarterback,
that system, Jimmy G works just fine.
If they can get a quarterback,
they can do better.
And Kyle Shanahan isn't up in a playoff game, they can win. He just can't be up unless it's 1 minute remaining and they have no timeouts. Because
not sure about
every time this man gets a lead in the playoffs, just blows it.
All right. The next storyline that I found pretty fascinating this season was just everything going on around. Just the other fascinating storyline is Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens this season, they were disappointing for the first half of the season, and then they come out alive.
As soon as Jackson came out of that bathroom, things changed.
And
They were
he started
different team.
and there was a throw that he made back of the end zone to Hollywood Brown against the Cowboys.
Yep.
I was like, that's MVP Lamar.
Yep.
Like
Yeah,
that.
right.
And what can we expect? What kind of season can we expect from Lamar going forward and into the future?
I mean, obviously,
Because he's not going to put up the 84, 80, whatever QBR that he put up in 2019. He's not going to lead the league in EPA. He's not going to be that next season or in the future. He peaked. Like, he had his best season in 2019. And Mahomes had his best season in 2018. And I feel that I'm saying confidently, Josh Allen, this will have been his best season. However, that does not mean that they won't be top echelon quarterbacks. What kind of seasons do you think we can expect from Lamar Jackson?
I mean, I think we can still expect very elite seasons. So, you look last year, a couple things need to happen. Number one, they need to find that true wide receiver one, which the Ravens, when you look back in previous years, they really haven't had great receivers, even that Super Bowl run.
No,
They're known for
Baltimore's last good receiver was Raymond Berry.
Yeah, that's probably about right.
mhm.
Yeah, so get that wide receiver one, whether it's Allen Robinson, he would be pretty hard to pick up. Doesn't matter who it is, get that. But also what I feel like is even more important,
Ronnie Stanley.
Get the interior offensive line. Yeah, getting Ronnie Stanley back. Orlando Brown wants to play left tackle. That's a tough situation there. But get the interior offensive line. What Lamar didn't need receivers in his MVP year. What he did have was a Hall of Fame guard. So I feel like work on that.
Yeah, I
whether
agree.
you have to get rid of Matt Skura because he was bad this year, whether you have to replace
It's
him.
not just Matt Skura. It's Skura. It's the
Yeah.
the entire
whole
interior
entire
was
offensive
just
line.
bad this year.
Oh, definitely.
Whoever stepped in at center for them, whether it was McCary, like Bradley Bozeman was good this year, but the rest was not good. Colon Castillo was fine, I guess. I mean, for an undrafted rookie, I guess.
You can only expect so much.
And then, as I said, I think Josh Allen played his best season. Now, that doesn't mean he won't be a great quarterback, but I don't think he will repeat this type of season.
Well, I mean, you look back, I was a big Josh Allen hater before this season. I called him below average. I was leaning towards Sam Darnold having a better career than him. That was not good. But, I mean, the only way I see that happening is if his bad mechanics that he had the first 2 years just magically reappear, kind of like how Justin Herbert fixed his this year. Allen fixed his drastically. And I don't really see that happening, especially with Stephon Diggs there. So, I mean, maybe he's played his best season, but I think his potential is through the roof. Really.
I actually have to agree. I think Josh Allen, his season this season was really good. But watching the games, he still has room to improve, I think. So
I agree with that, but like
I think he can become a better thrower of the football.
I agree. I just don't think that, like, when you put up a season like that, it's hard to put up I'm not saying he's gonna be. I just think that
I agree. I think
his statistical profile will be his best statistical season.
Statistically, he might have the best season, but I think in years coming, he might have a better completion percentage and be like more careful with the football. And I think that's what we can see him improve upon. So maybe he doesn't throw for as many yards, but I think he still has room to grow as a quarterback.
Yeah, I can definitely. I see that for sure. I mean, another big storyline from this season was just the debates around the top receivers from the 2019 draft class. I think A.J. Brown is the best receiver from that draft class, and I've been on that train for a while now.
I mean, I was on it last year. I feel like A.J. Brown had the best rookie year out of all of them. It's just so hard to rank. I mean, we're really comparing apples to oranges when we talk about guys like DK Metcalf and A.J. Brown versus guys like Terry McLaurin.
My reasoning for A.J. Brown is A.J. Brown this season was third in yards per route run. He's Yak God. He finished second in yak over expected per reception, and he also does the things. He also does freaking one-handed catches as well. Like he's
Right.
everything you want out of a wide receiver.
I think AJ Brown is just so much of a better receiver than DK Metcalf because his routes are better and his hands are so much better.
AJ Brown is basically what AJ Brown is what DK Metcalf looks up to, but like I'm not saying DK Metcalf isn't fantastic.
I agree.
Both are
AJ Brown is
superstar
special.
receivers, yeah.
And then Terry McLaurin and DK Metcalf, you can barely compare them.
What about DJ Moore? What do you think DJ Moore is?
He's the 2018
Well, he was
draft.
20.
Oh, it's 2018, my bad.
And
I will
then
say-
I'd
I will
say,
say-
but I actually wait. I forgot about someone. The absolute 100% best receiver in the 2019 draft class is Jacoby Myers.
Okay.
He's
I would say
definitely
2019
up there, but he's not the best. Like he's good, but he's not.
That receiver class so deep, and we're just gonna keep getting deep receiver classes. That's what I was thinking about this the other day. We're gonna keep getting deep receiver classes, and guys like Allen Robinson type players. Like there's gonna be like Allen Robinson who can be like your wide receiver one. There's gonna be like 30 guys like you could trust to be like a true wide receiver one in the league in like 3 or 4 years.
100%. The talent that we have in this league is unbelievable at receiver. It's going to keep getting better. So,
and eventually it'll swing the other way where we have crazy defensive talent. And I think it'll be a while because, like, I think that we're going to go through like a decade plus of like just the offenses are dominating the league, and then we're going to start to see defenses start to come back because the league changes, it evolves every year.
I hope the defenses come back because I'm a huge defensive guy. But, I mean, you look at this draft class even. We thought that last year's receiver class was stacked, which it was probably the most stacked since, I don't know, like 24 or 24.
But this year, I mean, we had a guy like Justin Jefferson. He was incredible.
Yeah, absolutely. And now we've got Devontae Smith, Jamar Chase, Bateman. We got a ton of guys this year.
Waddle.
Yeah.
Kadarius Toney. And a guy who's basically a wide receiver in Kyle Pitts.
Kyle Pitts, yeah.
And around the NFL this season, COVID, obviously, we talked about that in the state of the league. And going forward, just looking at the way that the NFL can attack next season, it's going to look interesting. But
I think the number one thing is get players vaccinated. I think that alleviates so much.
But I think that the players talked a lot about how it just doesn't feel the same without the fans. It doesn't feel the same without the fans. And I just, like, I can't wait for that first time that, like, Justin Jefferson goes out and greets the Vikings fans, or, like, Josh Allen at this level. It goes, like, he already had that in the playoff game, though. So I guess. Or, like, when you see a guy like, when we see these guys that were rookies this year or that had a big step up this year, and we see the way that, like, I want to see just the passion in the crowds. I want to see that back. The crowds are going to be so loud when they come back to full
when
capacity.
I get to a game,
Because
you're not
no
gonna
one's
going
gonna
to
wanna miss it.
Day because I'm not going to be able to say anything. Like,
No one's going to.
As a person who went to the last Patriots home game of 2019, which also happened to be the only game, the most recent game where I think fans have been allowed.
Yep.
It was
we don't talk about that game. Like, it didn't happen. It didn't
It's
happen.
magic.
No. He's talking about the playoff
talking
game.
about the playoff game versus the Titans.
Mm-hmm.
But it is something special to be in a game. It's something special to be at a game. And I'm ready for fans to be back. It definitely adds something to the games.
All right, and then your Browns. Baker Mayfield is the guy. We figured that out this season.
All right. Let's not go that far.
He's the guy.
He's the guy. I
Now,
will say, I don't want us to pay him, but yeah.
Is his ceiling that high? No, it's not. And that I think he gets a contract similar to Ryan Tannehill.
That's exactly what I was thinking, yeah.
And because
Tannehill,
we're going to see these guys get paid this offseason. Allen and Lamar, they're going to get the Watson contract, 4 for $160. I think they both get the same deal. And I think Baker gets like a 4 for 115 with less guaranteed money.
Well, they're talking around that like 35 to 40 per year. And I wouldn't like anything above 35 because then you're in like Watson and Mahomes range, and he's just not that.
Right.
He's not going to be that.
Here's my thing. Yeah, go ahead.
I'd just pick up his 5th-year option. That's what I would do.
I would do that as well, but I think that you should want to get a deal done because it's still a young Browns team, and you don't want to be in a situation where you have to draft a quarterback.
Here's my thing with Baker.
That's the reason why the Buccaneers are able to. They didn't have to. They realized, wait, we can figure this out in free agency. We can draft around our quarterback situation. We can make a move, and then the Bucs for a decade plus they were setting up for maybe not exactly this, but the opportunity presented themselves for the Bucs, and they took advantage of it.
Here's my problem with
and they're in the Super Bowl.
Here's my problem. Baker has such a wealth of talent around him on the offense, right? Like
great line,
The best offensive line in the
under
NFL.
pressure, and he struggled under pressure.
The best offensive line in the NFL, I would say, without a doubt.
Yes,
He has the best running back duo in the NFL, I think, with Chubb and Kareem Hunt.
heavily aided by the fact that it's such a great offensive
And he's got Jarvis Landry, who has been a wide receiver 1 for a long time on any team. He was wide receiver 1 when he was down in Miami. He's a wide receiver 1 here.
And he's a quarterback 1 for the Patriots if we were to get him.
Yeah. And, I mean, obviously with Odell, being out, I mean, obviously you're still paying him. He's still under contract. The defense is really not good, right? So my question is...
It's got a couple talented pieces, Myles Garrett and Denzel Ward.
But my question here is...
And
for the
Myles
Browns,
Garrett again.
Right? If you pay Baker, that means he's going to have less help around him. Are you confident he can win games with less help around him?
Now, that's the thing.
I think he needs that offensive line. I think that's just required. You have to keep that. Now, the weapons, we could afford getting rid of OBJ. Honestly, Austin Hooper, I think he's very overpaid. We can afford getting rid of him. Plus, backup Njoku and Harrison Bryant, they both have pretty good potential. So I think we could afford getting rid of some of the weapons. And also on the defensive side, you have Grant Delpit, who was our 2nd-round pick last year, was out for the season. Greedy Williams, who had a pretty good rookie year last year, he was out for the year. So we're getting those guys back. Really, we need linebacker and maybe another interior defensive lineman, and we're pretty much set. So I trust him as long as he has good protection because he really is good under pressure.
Yeah, and Baker, he also was basically he was much better with play action than in non-play action scenarios this year.
Also, Stefanski is phenomenal. He knows how to utilize
Kevin Stefanski makes his team better. And you look at, and I'm really starting to think that, I was not high on Baker for the draft. My top 3 quarterbacks for that draft were Darnold, Rosen, and Lamar. And I wasn't high on Allen, and I wasn't high on Baker. And
Baker, I mean, it's not like Allen.
And then I admitted, I said I was wrong on Baker after his rookie season, and then I was like, wait, was I? After his 2nd season, and now I'm confident to say that he is a solid NFL quarterback.
I can respect that.
Now, is he isn't the high ceiling that a guy like Kyler Murray has, but his floor is, if you keep the pieces around him, his floor is pretty high.
I agree
with that, yeah. I'd say a ceiling around maybe Ryan Tannehill or something. I think Ryan Tannehill is a top 10 quarterback.
He's number 8.
Like that 9 or 10, maybe.
He's 8. He's number 8.
Yeah.
Unless you're assuming Dak comes back like the exact same.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking Mahomes, Rodgers, Watson, Wilson, Allen. Then you got Dak, Lamar.
Brady.
This isn't in order. And then you got Brady. So I was thinking around 9. So.
Yeah, I say 8. I have Dak 9. And then really that the entire 10 through 14 where you get guys like Carr, Baker, Cousins, and Kyler, you could really go in any order there. And Herbert too.
Yeah.
And here's a take that I'm fascinated to hear your opinion on. If the Chargers upgrade their offensive line this year, Justin Herbert will be my MVP pick unless Watson goes to the Niners.
Everything is telling me that Justin Herbert is just going to pop off next year and be great. But I don't know
I
why.
agree.
I have this gut feeling. Maybe it's just me being crazy that he's going to have a sophomore slump. I believe in that.
I wouldn't
And
be shocked.
I wouldn't
Normally
be
those
shocked.
happen when you have a coaching change, when you don't have a great offensive line, and when you have super high expectations.
Yeah,
All
that's
three of
what I
those
think
are-
hurts him.
Those describe the
Right.
Chargers.
Expectations for Justin Herbert
Now
next
I
season
could
are
see that,
so
but
high.
I could see he's got the freaking he's got the Empire State Building in between his ceiling and his floor.
Oh yeah, he's like Josh Allen, kind of. I mean, he's had bad mechanics in the past, and if he goes back to that, then we're going to see a huge sophomore slump, and everybody's going to be doubting whether he can even be a starter next year.
No, I don't think we get that.
I mean, it's possible, but yeah,
because his first couple starts, he had some throws that like really opened, really like were eye opening, and he kept making those throws throughout the season. And the issue with him is that his pressure passer rating was higher than his non-pressure passer rating. So like that's not sustainable. But he's not going to be pressured as much because the line is going to get better.
Yeah, but the line was horrendous.
It can't get worse.
It can't. No, it can't, bro.
Well, you could have Marshall Newhouse.
Hey, you could have Marshall Newhouse running the ball because that is, I mean, for the ages. When he got flipped up and he just flipped and the ball flew out.
oh yeah,
That was play of the ages. I agree. I think everything is primarily set up for Justin Herbert to have a disappointing season. That being said, he could come out and just ball. Like, it's so in the cards for him just to come out there and with a real head coach, a real GM, a real offensive line, and a defense that maybe can, and a special team.
Derwin James back, Joey Bosa fully healthy, Kenneth Murray in his second year where he's probably gonna take a step up. Hopefully.
Yeah.
oh yeah, yeah. I mean, that's what I don't like about my argument. I'm using like stuff from the past that's happened to other quarterbacks rather than just stuff that's like
Stuff that's
pertains
real,
to
stuff
Justin
that's
Herbert.
Yeah, but gut feelings are totally like I've had so many gut feelings that had absolutely no
Gut
logic
feelings are
whatsoever.
admissible in court, okay? So let's just make that.
Like I've had so many gut feelings that just had no logic whatsoever, and they've came out right. But I've had other gut feelings that had no logic whatsoever that made me look like an absolute idiot.
Oh yeah, that's how it works.
Mhm.
Yeah, and I think that this game, this Super Bowl is going to be really fascinating. Right up next, you're going to have game picks. Jack Morgan's going to join us for that. But Panelize, I do want to get your pick for the game. Who do you got? And who wins Super Bowl MVP?
This is the first time I'm telling anybody. I hadn't made up my mind before.
Well, we're not live right now, so it's not. This comes out on Sunday morning.
Yeah. I am probably going to go with the Chiefs here. I'm going to go.
Hold on 1 second. The phone is ringing. I gotta get that to stop. Literally the worst time for the phone to start ringing.
But I'm going to go with the Chiefs here. I'm going to go about 31-24, let's say. I think Frank Clark, if he continues, I've been a pretty big Frank Clark hater. I think he's wildly overpaid. He's played like a top 10, maybe even top 5 edge rusher, and he's not that at all. So I think if he can keep up the pressure along with Chris Jones, Tyrann Mathieu is a force to be reckoned with in that secondary, then they can wreak havoc on Brady. So the offensive line is the one concern I have with the Chiefs.
It's Remmers and Rankin as the tackles.
Yeah, that's going to be interesting. But I mean, Mahomes is great under pressure, and when you blitz him, there's just no way to play Mahomes, Kelsey, and Hill. Like I don't see how you stop that. And I think the one team that did do okay in stopping that is the Raiders. Like that's the one team that's beat them.
The thing that gives me the idea, the thing that gives me any like idea for the Bucs is their defense is absolutely just 100%, 130% athletes.
Oh yeah,
and they could play a backyard football defense against the backyard football offense.
Vita Vea is absolutely
He's a run stopper. He's incredible.
Oh yeah. You got Levante David, Shaq Barrett. You got.
As much as
know
I
you
hate-
don't like this.
As
guy.
much as I
Devin
hate on him,
White.
he's such an athlete. Like,
Yeah.
I remember this one play against Florida where he came across the entire formation and made a tackle, like bolting, like literally at the like. It stuck in my head, and I was like, "This guy's a stud," and like he makes those flash plays.
He does.
But that's why I think he can. That's why I think he's got a super high ceiling.
I really like the Bucks front seven. What concerns me a little bit is their secondary tends to be a kind of inconsistent throughout the year. That's the only thing that really concerns me about them.
And against Tyreek, you can't be inconsistent. You can't because he goes past you. Sam and I know he gets past you. Cheetah's going for 75. Like
100%.
Just that
and
easy.
then, so tonight, or last night, the NFL honors Michael Onwenu received his gold jacket for his Hall of Fame induction, as well as the Nobel Peace Prize.
Should we tell him?
I think we should just give him all the awards, like presidential medal,
Everything.
Let's give him
Everything. Jake Bailey is the MVP of the NFL.
Yep, first punter ever.
Mark Mosley, the first kicker ever to win MVP, presents Jake Bailey with the MVP award. All right, so that's gonna do it for the league awards and season review segment. Game picks is coming up next. Thank you so much to Fanalize for coming on the show. Michael Filipkowski. The next segment coming up, he'll be on it. Jack Morgan too for game picks, and also all the game picks that people have sent me, voice messages. Those are gonna be fun. All right, thank you so much for watching. We'll be right back.